For people who either have started to do meditation practice or have been doing it for a long time, the first thing that they usually say that they notice of an unusual character is that they start noticing synchronicities more, that meaningful coincidences just seem to start happening. That is closely related to the notion of perceiving past, present, and future at the same time. It's like an expansion of awareness. That's pretty common. And so we actually did an experiment on this some years ago where we recruited 8 people who had done daily meditative practice for at least 20 years or more.
Wow. Okay.
And then we found 8 controls who had never meditated. So we did this up at our laboratory, which is in Northern California. And the joke here is that it was pretty easy to find people who have been very long meditators. It was really hard to find people who had never meditated at all. That's maybe something to do with the culture from where we are.
The location, yes.
So the experiment was very simple. We would have people wear glasses that had little LEDs right in front of your eyes, and we could cause them to flash. It was a very, very low level of illumination, but with your eyes closed, you can suddenly see a flash. We also had them wear earbuds so they could hear a tone. So they'd say, okay, go into your meditative state, and sometimes we're going to flash a light, and sometimes we're going to play a tone. And meanwhile, we have, I forget if we had 32 or 64 channel EEG. We're looking at the brain activity. So they just did that for 20 minutes, occasionally to get a light flash, occasionally get an audio tone, measuring their EEG. And the hypothesis was that for the long-term meditators, they had reported that they would occasionally get into a state that they would call timelessness, as though their sense of the present kept expanding into the past and into the future. Well, expanding into the past we can call memory, so that's not too surprising, but expanding into the future is not supposed to happen, according to thermodynamics. But nevertheless, we wanted to see whether this internal sense of an expansion of the present moment was only subjective or whether it was ontologically true. And the way you would see that is, would their brain respond in a way that we can measure before the light flash or before the audio tone?
Right.
So that was a hypothesis, and that is exactly what we saw. So about 1.5 seconds before a light flash or an audio tone, we would see that portion of the brain respond appropriately. It's not responding to something because it actually hasn't happened yet. It was reacting to something that would happen 1.5 seconds in the future. So that's consistent with the idea that internally, subjectively, their sense of now began to expand and the brain responded appropriately. This did not happen in the controls who had not meditated.
So interesting, isn't it? I mean, it's just such a fascinating subject. You also spoke about synchronicities and higher power, other energies. Many people say synchronicities are signs from the universe or symbols or signs showing up to show us we're on the right path or some sort of coincidence. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it might be a sign. It might be coincidence in some cases. We don't know. Anything that happens of this nature in spontaneous everyday life, very difficult to know what's going on. But the reason why we do experiments in the laboratory is because we are, in a sense, creating a meaningful coincidence in time. That's what all of these experiments are about. We want to, somebody describes a precognition or a telepathic experience or something like that in an uncontrolled environment like the real world, you don't know what's going on. But when we go into the laboratory, we do know what's going on. By definition, we've created a context which is somewhat artificial. It's not spontaneous, and it can't be like the everyday world, but we have very high control of it. So we know what is chance, we know what's not chance, we know it's not caused by accidentally hearing something or peripheral vision and all of those kinds of things. And so what we can say then is that we know in principle that if somebody has a meaningful coincidence, synchronicity, that might be related to precognition, It might be related to perception through space and time. It could be related to all kinds of things that we know can happen, but in that particular case, very difficult to be able to say exactly why it happened.